Thank you, David and Laia, so much for joining me. I'm excited to chat about Sirāt, which is definitely an experience of a movie. I think to start out, I want to ask you both about the initial conversations you had with Oliver and how you were brought onto the project and when, because music is so important and sound to this film. So were you brought on before or during pre-production, the ideas? Laia, would you like to start?
I go into the project when they were shooting on the first weeks of shooting. Um, just to talk more with Amanda, the sound mixer, to have a list of all the recordings that we will need later on post-production and talk about how technically um, we will need that recordings. And the creative process becomes later on the editing.
And David?
So I was brought a lot before. I was brought from like maybe probably 2 years before the premiere, about like a year and a half or 2 years. It was way before the shooting, but I only had the script. So Oliver brought me in I mean, he approached me and asked me if I was interested in the project, and he sent me the script and started to like explain me the film, how what he had in mind. He was he had these two tracks of mine in as a reference also for the type of sound, the sort of grainy like darker like sound, and he was coming from an album I did in 2014 called Solence Arc. So that was the anchor point. Yeah, yeah.
And and so Laia, you mentioned being on location on set, and David, you were brought in way before that development process. I'm curious how your experiences differed. Um, David, if you want to continue on.
Well, I mean, for us, the beginning with Oliver was to find the right texture. So was and since we didn't have any images, so Oliver would come here in Berlin, and just we had like these long sessions of like he would come like at my house and then at my flat in Berlin, and we would just like listen for music for like 5 days and try to exchange ideas and find a common vocabulary so we could work later on. And it was a lot about finding kind of like the right reference, the kind of like the right direction to so that they could have material during the shoot um, to like film the music, the movie with a lot of the music already composed. That was the idea. So I think for a lot of the scenes, they had a clear idea what the music would be. So and then for the sound part is a little bit different. So I'll let Laia talk about this more.
Mhm. Yeah, remember that when I see the first version of the picture, the music of David was on
Yeah,
that end because it
exactly.
was
Yeah.
composed.
It was
Uh,
yeah, so we had a very clear yeah, quite a very clear view of what it would be, and there were of course a lot of adjustment, but yes,
mhm.
it's quite rare, I guess, to have the music, most of the music, I think 80% of the music was before.
Yeah, later were
Yeah,
like
yeah,
um,
yeah.
process of changes on the music,
Changes,
but
yeah,
there were like lots of cues of the
yeah.
music
Most
composed.
cues, yeah, were there already. Yeah.
Yeah, and in the case of the sound design, we um work like some scenes to find the texture, the tone of the film, because for Oliver it was very important to be expressive but not lose the realistic sound and the texture of the sound, the real sound of the production. And we work a lot to find the elements that we can use in an expressive way, um, to emphasize the emotion of the film that we wanted.
So did the music, since most of it was done before, what were some changes that happened throughout filming, or were there any that you had to go back and adjust?
Do you mean for the music, or is it a question for Laia?
Music for you.
So I think a lot of so there were still a few scenes where we had to struggle a bit more than in this film a lot of the work was just to try out things and like being a bit more open in our research, and then like sometimes it is like that with with sound and images. Sometimes like there's a piece of music and that it just fits, and then you look for the magic to happen. And when the magic happens, then you just say thank you, and then you just go for it, and you try to sort of adjust it and make it better. Like I've work on all the details. So apart from the details, I think there were a few scenes where we didn't find the magic first, so we had to go on and maybe wait for a bit more of the mixing part. And then there was all this work that we had to do with Laia about like the how the collaboration between sound design and music was happening. So there were moments where we had long talk about what should be diegetic and extra diegetic, and what is the what is the score and what is the actual music, because it's a pretty musical film, but like sometimes the limit between what is the score and what is the music that we are listening to is quite blurry. So
Hmm.
we made some works, quite a lot of work towards after that in the mixing with to adjust these moments of sliding from diegetic to extra diegetic and back and forth.
Like
So I
David
think
said, it was like a lot of work in the mixing process to find the balance that like the narrative that we need, that to be more with the character, and when we need to listen the music more clean to go through the emotion that we wanted. I think and that process was more like trying different things and see what emotion evoked to us. And it was like a long process to experiment um, that mixing.
yeah.
So did that end up with multiple cuts essentially, and you saw what worked best? Or if you can talk about more about the layering, because I know that must have been such a instrumental part of the making of this movie.
We had the music of David with the stems to open to open that music on the Atmos and make it bigger or smaller, just to adjust to the emotion. If we wanted to the music um, to be big, to have more capacity of the on the stage, and when we wanted to be more minimalism, to have it smaller space. And also all the mixing of the parties, we have balance between the extra diegetic music and the diegetic music. Um, before in the process of sound design, we recorded all the music of the film through a sound system like the one of the film, just to have the texture and the distortion of the speakers.
Mhm.
And when you hear the music through that speakers, it loses like brightness, and it has a lot of bass. And we worked a lot with the balance between, um, if you want to hear the music more clearly because the emotion that you wanted was on the music, or you wanted to hear the isolation that the dance floor generates, because it's like a wall of sound and you can hear anything more than music, and a little voices, or the crowd of the dance floor. I don't know, see if you, David,
Yeah,
can.
yeah, it's true. I mean, we had this stronger, sometimes complicated even discussion about of like what it is to what we want, like if the documentary aspect of the film in the traditional sense. The documentary makes you like hear what's happening in the scene through the microphone of a camera, or the microphone, whatever, is there to capture the sound. For Sirāt, there was a back and forth between this sort of like raw documentary aspect, which has the tendency sometimes to disconnect you from the scene because you become a spectator, like a real you basically you look at it as if you would look like an animal documentary or something. Whereas in Sirāt, we in a lot of places I was very pushing to bring the audience inside the rave and then make them feel what it is to be in it, like to not be separated and like in your clean cinema seat with your popcorn and like where you're not sweating anymore. Like I was really trying or pushing so that we can feel this physically in the cinema, like that, even if it's raw and hurting and so on, but we stop, well, we try to really lower the distance between the audience and what's actually happening on screen. I don't know
Well,
if that
there's,
makes sense, but
I
yeah.
remember that this
mhm.
the discussion when we were mixing the first 20
Yeah.
minutes to
Yeah.
when we need to be more narrative, to go with the character with Luis, that is like
Yeah.
uh, uh it's a man that it's
Yeah.
lost on the dance floor, and to feel that we work more with the aesthetic sound of the
Yeah.
sound system. And
Yeah.
we when we wanted to that the character was on the night scene that he's crossing through the dance floor, um there is more extra diegetic music, because the music is the element that emphasize the emotion of the isolation of the character.
Yeah.
So we try to make the decisions on the mix, based on that.
And
And
sometimes
the
it blends
aesthetic and
from yeah. Sometimes it blends from one to the other seamlessly, so you don't really feel but it's I think you feel it when you're in the
uh,
in the cinema, like
there are moments that the change is made by cat with
Yeah,
like the night
yeah,
scene and the morning scene,
yeah.
and there are moments that it's more like flowing that you don't really um notice that you are on the extra diegetic and go through a diegetic moment.
Yeah, I totally feel all of that. And, thinking about those moments really excites me because it takes you into back to how you viewed the movie. And there are many moments that are traumatic and kind of take you out of that experience of being so cued into these characters and you see it almost out of body. But it also makes you see the setting and the characters differently, as also with the music as this different character almost. So I'm curious how, especially working with an international team and a few non-actors who are in the cast, how music became this universal language, or if that helped unify the experience between everybody working together, especially in this desert that just feels almost totally devoid of emotion and everything.
Yeah. I don't know if, Laia, do you have something to say about this or you want?
Go, you
Yeah.
can go.
Okay. Well, like the fact that music became a character, if I'm really honest, like I realized it afterwards by the feedback that people were giving me. If I'm like super honest, like I didn't really think about it that way
Mm,
when I did the music. I wanted the music to be present there for a reason all the time. Like there was, it was one of the requirements, or like very clear requirements I asked for to Oliver. Like first, that the whole composition would feel like a sort of as a that has the something that has a unity, something coherent towards the whole movie, and that never should the music be something like a wallpaper or something like like you don't. I didn't want to decorate scenes or something, so music should come for real, when it comes, and it should say something, and it should be relevant to the scene. And I think, of course, obviously, Oliver agreed on that, and like that's also the way he wanted it. But I pushed to have it expressive and let's say trying to have it maybe less spread out, but more put into like big, massive block. And it's very rare in a movie that you have actual like 6, 7 minutes of uninterrupted music. But in Sirāt, we have many of those. So music becomes this thing that replace dialogue because there's not so much dialogue in Sirāt uh, music. So I think Laia also kind of used it for, sometimes to sort of like link scenes in between. And sometimes music is there to just like either give hope or give a direction or give a sense of like renewed energy after a hard scene or something. And then like it's sort of like he's there as a almost as you said as a character, but I didn't feel it that way. I only realized it when people after the premiere, when people started to talk about the movie and say many times. So this phrase, it's like it's like another character. It's one of the character of the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that we don't have the feeling that we were calculating.
No.
We were more like uh, experiencing and trying some things, and I think that one 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 aspect of Sirāt, it's not convention narrative. The music is not working like an score to press the emotion when the thing are happening. It's more like the scene happens, it's raw and with the realistic sound, and then you have a cathartic moment with the music too, evolves the emotion. And I think that that structure of the music in the film drags you and propose a journey to the to the audience.
Mm.
Yeah, and talking about the soundtrack, it is a full what you're hearing most of the movie. I need to congratulate you, David, on winning that Cannes Prize for the soundtrack
Thank you.
because it's, it is very listenable despite the film being difficult to watch at times. But for you, you perform DJ sets around the world, and it's this collaborative experience with the audience. So I'm curious how, if it's different in creating a soundtrack for a film where you really don't have that aspect until you're in the movie theater experiencing with them.
Yeah. I mean, of course it's different. Yeah, it's a lot different. And it's that I don't have like this sort of like instant reaction as when I'm on stage and so on. But um, but I had this sometimes when I mean it's of course separated and nobody knows that's like because but I've had this at least in Cannes when I first saw and then I saw the reaction and you can feel the energy. It's a lot more subtle and it's not like a direct communication, so I wouldn't compare it. But there are similar aspects of like where you sometimes even when I'm doing a DJ set, I'm not trying to get an immediate reaction. I have to because that's when you play techno, there's an easy way out, and I think that's the same with score. There are easy ways to make people cry. There are easy ways to express sadness, and like all these sort of like recipes. And in the same in a DJ set or live, there are very easy ways to create reaction or like an instant gratification. But the way I work is a lot more about like trying to be confident of where I want to go and like doing it anyway and trying to bring people in with me. And like I feel that if I'm confident enough and I do the best I can, probably people will trust me and they'll come with me. So it's not like exactly might not be exactly what they need or what they want. Yeah, it's more like this. It might not be what they want right now, but it's maybe what they need.
Totally, I understand that.
Mhm.
Um, Laia and David, but in terms of the sounds and the design, was there anything on set that inspired you or that you used from the environment that you're able to add either retroactively or um, that inspired how you mixed the score with the diegetic sound?
um I when we were working on the sound design on the mix, we were more like I don't have a referent to inspire me because we feel it more that we were doing something different, and we need to try and and try something new. And I remember that was difficult to me because I used to make the sound with more classic narrative, that you have a sound that it starts, it develops, and it ends. And Oliver was like, no, I need that enter the sound on the middle of the evolution, and the music is also like that, that you have the music um goes bigger and increasing, and it cut it uh very raw, and you have the silence and work. That kind of style in the sound design was more like trying things and see how it feels.
Dave, David, can you comment? Was there anything unconventional about the process of creating the score?
Yeah, there are many things unconventional. First, the fact that most of the sound come from very raw, undirected sound research. So there are not really like any track, or at least from what I remember, that comes from let's say a compositional point of view, which is the typical composition of like making notes and like trying to make them sound nice and like creating emotions through chord progressions or melodic motifs or things like that. So a lot of the sound come from like more like research from based on all like these modular synthesizer, and they were undirected or unspecified at first. It was more about like finding sounds and like textures and what it was about, what this sound, the power of this sound to produce certain emotions and how could they fit in certain scenes. And then it was about shuffling, like, okay, is it working here? No, it's not working. So let's try here. Like, so I produce, of course, it's a very wasteful process because I produced a lot more than what was required. And it's not like a very efficient process in terms of I'm looking at this and I know where I want to go and like I'm gonna write a theme for that. So I think that's the most, maybe that's what I can say about the unconventional approach to sound for Sirāt. Yeah.
Yeah, listening the David, I was thinking that I remember on the process of creating the the sound of the vehicles. Um, Obviously, I watch a lot of times Mad Max and that kind of films, but we feel that we need something more um, with more dust and more texture of with something. We recorded, like we recorded the engines without the protection of the microphones to have the distortion of the wind going through the microphone, and that kind of distortion, it matches perfectly with the texture of the image. And it's like unconventional way to record the sound of the vehicles, but it works on Sirāt.
I agree with that too. It feels like you're in that space and the sand that's blowing around, you really feel the sound when you're watching it. So Thank you both for joining me today. I can't wait to see it again, but congratulations and yeah, have a good day.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Very
Thank
much.
you.